It's another lovely day for a junk hunt. So today I'm off to another area of Norwich. In the previous junk hunt episode, I went to the North City area, and today I'm heading west because it's another area that I'm pretty familiar with. So I thought I'd start here because 17, 18 years ago, this is where I used to live. And I know there are a few communal bin areas around here to check out. I never found too much around here, to be honest, but I think it's going to be worth a look. There wasn't much around here other than this table and seat, but it looked like someone might be using this, so I'm leaving it alone. There was also this wooden frame, which I decided to leave, and an obligatory broken dining chair, which I'm also going to leave. Around the corner from this, though, is a furniture shop, and out the back they had part of an old bed frame, so I popped in to see if I could take it.
Hello.
Hiya.
How are you?
Yeah, good, thank you. Bit of a random ask, but I wondered if that bed out the back was scrap wood and whether I might be able to take it.
You just take whatever you want.
Are you sure?
Yeah, that's fine. I've got to take some tip anyway.
Okay, great.
So,
Lovely bloke, had a nice chat with him, but now the question is, am I going to be able to fit this in my car with a baby seat? And the answer was no, but as it was in two parts, I managed to break it in half. Now let's explore some more areas. This place had a bit of an eerie feel to it as all the doors were open to these sheds, which is unusual. I wonder if the council were in the middle of clearing them out or something, but there was no one around. Later in the video I'm going to be using the materials that I find to make some projects, and I had a rough idea of the kind of things that I was hoping to find that would enable me to make the things that I'd like to make, but I'm also open to finding materials that might spark other ideas, and for me that's part of the fun of doing these junk hunts. I found a few bits, another obligatory broken dining chair, some melamine that had been out in the rain so it had started to delaminate at the edges, and this thing which on closer inspection turned out to be MDF, so I'm going to leave that. There are quite a lot of shops in this area, so I had a look around the back of them, but all I found were pallets, pallets and more pallets, which are fine, but I don't really want to fill my car up with them, and I was hoping to find something better. I met a lovely ginger cat, and just as he decided to lay down in the sun, suddenly another one appeared. My next interesting find was this ride-on toy motorbike, but with a back wheel missing and lots of electrical wiring sticking out of it. I decided fixing it would be beyond my skill set. Then I found this badly painted drawer carcass which seemed to be solid oak. It was really heavy. At first I wasn't sure if I wanted to take this though. Then a bit later I found a pine bed footboard which I also wasn't sure about taking. Right, so I've been wandering around for about an hour and a half now, and it's been pretty slim pickings to be honest, so I think what I'm going to go and do is go back and get that chest of drawers carcass thing, and we'll have some fun with that. After getting my car, I decided I may as well take that pine footboard, even if I just end up using it for firewood. At least it's not going to landfill. Before I leave this area entirely, there is an industrial estate quite close by, so I think I'm going to head there just to have a look around. It's probably just more pallets, but you never know. So this here isn't actually the industrial estate that I had in mind, but I was driving past, so I thought I may as well have a look, and I'm really glad that I did. Aside from this skip and a small pile of pallets, what looked most interesting was this stuff by the bins. Hi mate, I was going to pop in and have a chat with you actually. I was wondering if that junk over there is for anyone to take, or is it next door, is it?
Yeah, that stuff is, yeah.
I was wondering if I might be able to pinch some of that scrap wood near the bins.
Take what you want.
Yeah, is that all right?
That's fine.
Nice one, thank you. This area turned out to be a really good haul in the end. Two decent sized bits of 12mm hardwood ply, a solid beech stave worktop, a few bits of pressure treated timber, and these offcuts of white acrylic, and loads of old pallet wood which were all screwed together with battens, and I'm going to take as much of this as I can too. So then, how did we do? An oak drawer carcass, part of a bed frame, a pine bed footboard, 2 bits of 12mm plywood, a solid beech worktop, 2 pieces of white acrylic, some pressure treated timber, a dowel, and lots of pallet wood. Right, so onto the drawer carcass, and the first thing I want to do is just ascertain what here is solid wood and what is veneer. I've got a feeling these panels on the side are going to be veneer, but I'm hoping the top is solid wood. I can see that the grain is running in this direction, so if I scrape the paint away from this area here, I would hope to see end grain. It looks like that is end grain. The paint came off this really easy. Whoever decided to paint this clearly hadn't sanded or prepped the surface in any way. These legs are definitely solid wood, as are the separators in between the drawers. I'm not much of a fan of these kind of decorative embellishments, so I'm going to get rid of them. That looks better already. I get all the solid wood components sanded. I'll worry about the veneered panels later. This mortise on the side here tells me that this was probably once part of a desk or some other longer piece of furniture. So I'm going to fill this mortise with some oak. I'm taking a rubbing of the mortise and I can transfer that onto my scrap of oak to get it cut to size. And then I refine the shape using a hand plane. I wanted it to be a wedge shape so that I'll get a nice tight fit. And there are a few holes to fill where I removed nails. So having cleaned up the rest of this carcass, I now have two issues. I know this is plywood because on the inside I can see that there's a different veneer on the other face of the ply. And if I sand this, it's likely that the veneer is really thin and I will accidentally sand through the veneer. The other issue is that I have some signs of woodworm. I really don't think it's active as there's no signs of dust on the holes. For these panels, what I'm going to try is some stripper. I've really not had much luck with stripper products in the past. They certainly don't make it like they used to. I'm just going to blather it on as thick as possible and let it do its thing. I really hope this does work and I can get the old varnish off, because I think I'm starting to fall for this thing a little bit. In fact, I can't believe I almost left it by the bins. This is the back panel and it'll be interesting to see how this does on paint, whether it's any different to how it performs on the varnish. Right, I'm going to leave that and let it sit for a few hours. After a couple of hours, I could see the stripper was actually working pretty well, but I decided to apply a second coat anyway, and then after another hour, I could scrape it all away. And I was really quite impressed with the results here. I'll leave a link to this product in the description box below if you want to try it out. Using some white spirit and fine wire wool takes care of the rest of the paint and varnish. And once it's fully dried, I did a bit of hand sanding and it looked good. I decided to add a taper to the legs, as I just love the look of a tapered leg. Now on to making some drawers, and first I'm going to remove these drawer stops as they won't be needed. For this I can use some of the 12mm hardwood ply. The ply was quite grubby, but it cleaned up really nicely with a bit of sanding. And using my 6mm flat tooth blade, I can cut housing grooves for the drawer bottoms. I'm trimming the back panels of the drawers, which will allow me the space to insert the drawer bottoms, and then I can start assembling the drawer boxes. I'm just using glue and 18 gauge pins. I've been building drawer boxes like this for years and I've never had a failure. Just checking for square, and once dry, they all fit well. I went to get some woodworm treatment, and here's the moment that I thought there was no lid on this pot. Oops. I applied this to the whole carcass just to be on the safe side. Usually in these junk hunt videos, I like to use nothing but the materials that I've salvaged. But on this particular project, I am going to cheat a bit, but for good reason. For my drawer bottoms, I could have used the 12mm plywood, but these drawers are going to be really small, so 6mm would be absolutely fine. And I've got some 6mm here. This is still salvaged, just not from this particular junk hunt. And likewise for my drawer fronts, I think it would be a real shame to use pine, or the white acrylic, or even the beech worktop. I think this deserves oak. And this oak down here was salvaged from our kitchen cabinet doors when we moved in here. And the drawer bottoms get secured with a single screw into the back panel. Now to measure up to make my drawer fronts. If you're wondering why I'm using this new table saw rather than my usual one, I'm trying it out and I'll be reviewing it on my channel in future. I'm just using PVA glue to secure them. And working from the centre drawer out seemed to be the best way to do this, so that I can get all my spacings between the drawers looking good. For finish, I'm applying hard wax oil, as it will really pop the grain of this oak. And finally, I'm adding some of these black knurled metal drawer handles, which I thought would complement these drawers quite well. And a little candle wax on the bottom edges of the drawers will make them slide nice and smooth. I think this is a really nice little thing, but I've looked all around the house and we really don't have anywhere to put this. So if you think you might be able to give this a home, this is your chance to own a bit of junk hunt history, as I'm going to be putting this up for sale, and there'll be a link in the description box below if you'd like to check it out. On to project 2, and for this I'll make use of these bed slats, and they're going to be perfect for making what I have in mind, which is something for baby Brown to stand on so that he can help us in the kitchen. I'm going to make a 7-degree angle cut at each end for the back legs to angle them out slightly and make it more stable. And then I can position everything and make some reference marks for the rest of the cuts. I want the shelf on this to be adjustable so that it can sit at 3 different heights, meaning that as baby Brown gets older we can lower the shelf. So here I'm just figuring out the heights I want and where the rest of the angled cuts are needed. I'm also going to cut a notch out of each of these shelf support pieces, which will enable the shelf to seat on them nice and secure. And while each shelf support is a different length, I need my notches to be the same length so that the shelf is interchangeable. So these are my 2 side panels, and this wood cleaned up really well. There were just a few holes to fill. I'm carefully rounding over any sharp edges to make it as baby safe as possible. And because these shelf supports are going to carry the weight of a toddler, I thought it best to reinforce the glue joints with some mechanical fixings. These slats I'm ripping down to form some front cladding pieces, which are also going to help support the movable shelf. And I'll use another slat as a step, which got glued and screwed to the underside of the lowest shelf support. This will help baby Brown climb up onto it on his own as soon as he's confident enough. And to provide some extra strength to that step, I glued on a little support piece. I was planning to use this dowel I got from the junk hunt as a handrail for baby Brown, but it was an odd size and I couldn't find a drill bit that matched, so I ended up ripping down another slat to use and just rounding over the edges. This got glued and screwed into the underside of the top pieces, one at the front and one at the back. And then the final component to make was the shelf itself, which is going to be slatted, and I want the front slat to overhang the front support slightly, so I'll make a pen mark to help me position the battens that will hold it all together. So now my shelf slot's in place in 3 different positions, and I thought about making plans available for this project, but the idea of designing something for toddlers other than my own seemed a little risky, so sorry if you were hoping for plans to build one, but hopefully the design gives you some ideas. And as you can see, it's pretty strong. It takes my weight just fine. A while back I built these storage racks in a tight space behind my workshop, and I'd really like to be able to store some firewood in here, mainly because I'm rapidly running out of space in this one. And in order to do that, I'm going to need some wooden crates. I'll pull out some of the thinnest pallet wood boards for this project, as I don't want the boxes to be too heavy, and it's quite nice to have a supply of pallet wood without having the hassle of breaking the pallets apart. I cut all the boards to the same length, and also cut some strips to use as corner pieces, and then sanded each piece roughly just to remove any splintery bits. I want these to look rustic. And then I can start assembling the boxes using 18 gauge pins.